Following the PMO's executive order to conduct a comprehensive review of business regulatory processes for the private sector, representatives from various private sectors met to discuss the existing business regulatory framework. The gathering was facilitated by the Voice for Green Change Partnership, V4GCP, under the Handicrafts Association of Bhutan. The meeting deliberated three main domains for feedback to the government, including general economic development policies, business regulatory procedures, and policy-making process. They will present their recommendations to the government on Monday. Now, to discuss more on the story, we have in the studio Mr. Kampa, the project manager for Voice for Green Change Partnership, or V4GCP project. Thank you for joining us, sir. First of all, sir, the project, your project, the V4GCP project, I think is fairly new in the country. So what exactly does your project do, sir?
Les, thank you very much for the question and also having me here. First of all, I would like to share a brief idea on what is V4GCP project all about. Yes. This project will especially look at improving the CSI and SME sectors, small and cottage industries and small and medium enterprises in Bhutan. And how we will do is, we will do it by looking at harmonizing the platforms among the government and the private sectors, also including the parliament. This project is funded by the European Union, and today when we are reviewing the business regulatory process, we are very happy that the government has given us this opportunity to engage the private sector in reviewing the business regulatory processes. And we have engaged various stakeholders like the sector associations under the Bhutan Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So we have met together today, and our consultation will go on for another few days before we submit our issues and challenges to the government.
So you're talking about the recommendations you are going to submit. First of all, can you tell us why the Prime Minister's office issued the directives to the private sector to review the regulatory processes? What could be some of the reasons?
Well, I think that, private sector development is sort of thwarted in our economy. So that could possibly be the main reason why the cabinet has ordered or issued an executive order to review the business regulatory processes. And it has come at a right time because we are also at the stage of implementing the Voice for Green Change Partnership, the V4GCP project. Yes. So where we are also looking at reviewing the policies and rules and regulations catering to the CSI and SME sectors. So I believe this has come at the right time, and this will really have a far-reaching impact on the private sector development of our country.
And secondly, the director from the Prime Minister's office says the review is to ease the private sector in the country. So what could be some of the reasons hampering the private sector in the country, sir?
Yes, when the stakeholders met today, we identified three domains. Yes. On which we will try to propose some of the actionable recommendations to the government. Firstly, it is the domain of general economic development policies, which will look at reviewing the economic development policies, the FDI policies, the fiscal incentive policies, and also the public-private partnership policies. So we will review these existing policies, and there might be more policies. So in fact, I think all the stakeholders put together, we are looking at reviewing more than 100 various policies which are catered to the businesses and private sector in the country. The second is the review of business regulatory processes, and under that we have areas like licensing regulations, then we have manpower and labor regulations, then we have other matters like access to finance, access to market, and also service delivery by the regulatory authorities. And the third one is the policy making and consultation processes. So under that, we are also discussing to propose some of the concrete and actionable recommendations to the government to make it very participatory when it comes to policy making by engaging the wider stakeholder from the private sector. So based on these three domains, we are hopeful that we will come up with a lot of actionable recommendations to the government.
And like you said, there are many policies affecting the growth of business in Bhutan. And if we take a look, for example, if we take a look at the ease of doing business in Bhutan, Bhutan is ranked 89th in the world. And if under the ease of doing business, if we look at some of the topic scores, starting a business is ranked 103. And getting credit, for example, is ranked 94. And dealing with construction permits, 91. Protecting minority investor, 111. So we're not doing really well. So what could be some of the solutions you reckon could be proposed to the government to improve the ranking in the future?
Leslie, thank you for citing the ease of doing business ranking of our country. I may not be able to recommend the solutions to all the issues that you have spelled out when it comes to ease of doing business in Bhutan. But the opportunity that the government has given us today to review the business regulatory processes will exactly give us the platform to bring all the businesses and private sector stakeholders together to discuss this kind of issues and to see what are the strategies, what are the solutions that we can propose to the government so that the ease of doing business ranking is improved, and then the private sector development in general also improves, and then it benefits the economy.
Well, thank you for joining us. We appreciate that, sir.
Thank you, my pleasure.
There was Mr. Kampa, the project manager of the Voice for Green Change Partnership, or V4GCP project, joining us live here in the studio.
Kuzampo, and welcome to this program. We are joined here in the studio, and this program is continuation to the Zongkha program that we had earlier. In the studio, I'm joined by the president of the Bhutan Chamber for Commerce and Industry, Tanuwachu, and to my in the middle we have Mr. Chorten Doji, who is the executive director of Handicrafts Association of Bhutan, and on my far left we have Mr. Kampa, who is the project manager of the Voice for Change Partnership project, a new project that was launched recently. And the private sector, after the government issued a directive to bring about reforms in the policies and business regulations in the country on its first day of office a week ago, have been convening together on the government's directives, and for yesterday, today, and even tomorrow, the representatives are convening together to discuss, to bring about policy changes and reviewing a lot of policies that we have in the country regarding businesses and a lot of other issues. So we'll discuss all of it in detail. And so I think the first question that I'll ask is to the president of the BCCI. It's a significant initiative from the government and to review Bhutan's business regulatory framework. So particularly considering the nation's economic development goals. So how significant is this initiative from the private sector's perspective?
Yes, I would say that with this government new executive order, immediately we were being issued the letter from the MOIS on reviewing the navigating policies, the barriers of the existing policy. And for last 4 days, the private sector in general, the associations being involved, and we have been reviewing. And fortunately, we happen to have the project, as you mentioned, the G4GCP, where all these expenses, where you need actually huge amount of money, because you have to have series of consultation meeting, where through the core committee the ED of the handicraft and Kampa, and of course one of my director also involved as a stakeholder. With this, we managed to cover all the expenses. As such, BCCI also financially we are not comfortable, and we would say fortunately we should thank the chamber should thank the committee for coming up with such project. Same time, we have received the executive order from the MOIS on reviewing the existing policy. On the policy, for last 3 days, we had been engaged all the sectors, and tomorrow is the final day. We have come up with the draft understanding and issues, and by Thursday morning, we are supposed to submit the barriers and the issues to the MOIS.
Yes.
And on 12th, the MOIS is going to give us platform for presentation on those issues that we have raised.
Yes. So the government's directive to the Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Employment is that these recommendations should come back to the Prime Minister's office on the 1st of March. Not much time to talk about and go back and forth with the discussions. I'll go on to Mr. Kampala. The press release issued earlier from the BCCI and the Voice for Change Green Partnership project. So it mentions 3 crucial domains for feedback to the government, if I can read it out. One is general economic development policies. The second is to look at business regulatory procedures. And the third, policy making processes and consultations. Now, among the 3 domains that the consultative process is looking at, which one of these requires urgent attention as you see it?
Well, thank you for the question. Well, I would say all of it, all of the 3 domains, and the 3 domains that you have just read out, which is first is the general economic development policies. The second is the business procedures, business regulatory procedures rather, and the third one is policy making and consultation processes. So all these 3 domains were all these 3 domains evolved from the consultation that we had with the stakeholders from private sector today at BCCI. We agreed that we will try to give our feedback to the government on these 3 domains. And talking about the first domain on general economic development policies, we'll be looking at policies like economic development policies, Financial Incentives Act of Bhutan, foreign direct investment policy, and public-private partnership policies of the government. And on the second domain, which is business regulatory processes, so we have identified few certain subdomains, like we'll be looking at licensing regulations, we'll be looking at manpower and labor regulations, and likewise access to finance, access to market, and also tax systems that is affecting the businesses. And finally, we do have policy making and consultation processes, where we would like to propose to the government some of the mechanisms and system to be put in place in order to have a wider stakeholder consultation whenever the policy is made for the private sector.
Mr. Chotanla, the Handicrafts Association of Bhutan is a civil society organization. So leading this consultative process with the stakeholders from the various private sector in the country. So how did that come about, the CSO leading this consultative process?
Yes, thank you. Handicrafts Association of Bhutan is part of Chamber of Commerce Industry.
Yes.
We are also in registered organization. And while we were actually developing this project, we had numerous consultations with Chamber, then all the relevant sector associations. One of the key issues we found is we lack the collaboration.
Yes.
Collaboration both vertically and horizontally.
Yes.
Horizontally, even within the sector associations, even the sector members, we lack collaborations.
Yes.
And vertically, because the consultation procedures between policymakers and then sector service providers and then CSI SME themselves are still lacking. So on this basis, we thought that to enhance collaboration is very key to private sector development. And also, we also found it that the service delivery is still lacking, and one of the most important thing that we have found out is the lack of capacity of the CSA SME CSOs, I would rather say, who represent the CSA SMEs in the form of non-government organizations, like whoever is registered with chamber as well as CSO authorities are not for profit. So therefore, we jointly have come up with the intervention, and it is timely that now new government is putting so much effort on enhancing service deliveries by reducing all these hurdles and regulatory procedures. So the project is timely.
To BCCI President, so now this is in a long time we have seen that the government is actively directly engaging the private sector in looking at reviewing the business regulatory framework and policies and all. So within this short span of time, March 1st is the deadline for the ministry to submit a review report back to the Prime Minister's office. So within this short span of time, how comprehensive would the review process be? How efficient would it be?
As such, with the existing policies of 126, there are about 126 policies for private sector. We had issues in the past. We did submit to the earlier government, and this time, since we have almost 50% of the issues prepared with us, and the rest with this committee recently with this project, in a few days' time, we managed to develop. Same time, we have hired the experts for supplementing the issues to us. And we are quite confident whatever the revised conditions that we submit to the government will be comprehensive. And more important, what we would like to say is the government, taken a bold decision to come up with this, because we are the beneficiary as well as we are the affected. The private sector are the affected. Therefore, it is very important for the government to involve private sector in the respective committee. And what this government has done also, we would like to thank the government for involving. There are multiple committees, such as Economic Development Board. Then we have the EDB board, we have FDI board, and under the FDI board, FDI committee, this energy, health, agriculture, education, industry, and DGM policies are going to review.
Now, sticking with the BCCI President, the press release that came out earlier today also highlighted inconsistencies in economic policies impacting various business sectors. So, could you elaborate some of the specific examples of inconsistencies that has impact on businesses?
Yes, let me directly respond to it. Let me cite one example. On mineral and mines policy, when you use the raw material for value addition, you are not given incentive. In the economic development policy, if you do a value addition and export the finished product, you are given incentive. But the government choose to opt for DGM policy again. Therefore, the private sector, when they buy the raw material from the government, they impose royalty first. And secondly, once they finish the product into finished product, when they export, again they charge 8.5%. And eventually in your income tax of 30% also you have to declare. So on one business you are imposed 3 times taxes. So that's why we are saying it is inconsistency. Same time it is contradicting, the policy is contradicting too many policy. We wish that 9 ministries should have 9 policy.
So we're talking about various administrative and bureaucratic hurdles. I'll go back to Mr. Khampa. Talking about the review process, you all have been meeting for the past 4 days and will come up with some finalization draft documents at the end of the day tomorrow. So how does the consultative process with various businesses ensure that it is inclusive of all stakeholders? We're talking about the small and cottage industries as well.
Well, first of all, I would like to bring in the project which is Voice for Green Change Partnership, V4GCP project.
Yes.
Now, this project is funded by the European Union. And under this project, we have already aimed to review and propose streamlining some of the policies that are affecting or impacting the small and cottage industry, CSI, and small and medium enterprises. So the stakeholder consultation that is happening right now, we have ensured that we have a representative from as much as possible from all the sectors of the private sector. So that is led by the Bhutan Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So under them, they have about 14 sector associations representing most of the economic and private sectors of Bhutan. So with that included, with the inclusion of representatives from all these sectors, we are pretty sure that there will be a lot of insights. There will be a lot of views and feedback from all these sectors, and which will cater to the overall recommendations representing the whole private sector to the government.
Lesla. So, Mr. Choten, if we can talk about how such initiative by the Handicrafts Association of Bhutan, which is leading the Voice for Green Change project. So how does initiatives like this contribute to fostering a more conducive business environment for small enterprises?
Handicraft Association represents a CSI SME sector.
Yes.
And we had been also facing a lot of challenges. Just to cite an example, for instance, the major challenges Handicrafts Association of Bhutan have been facing is on the unfair competitions from the similar machine-made handicraft products coming in. While the licensing categorization system is weak here, there is no proper distinctions, and this was actually affecting and demoralizing or demotivating our own authentic Bhutanese handicraft producers.
Yes.
On this experience, the whole purpose project, we have numerous challenges. So on this experience, we have initiated or we have taken a lead to develop a project where the opportunity was provided by European Union. So the main purpose of project is not only the harmonizing the policies or trying to streamline policy gaps and all this, we are also looking at more sustainable establishments, such as the standardizing or establishing proper consultation procedures.
Yes.
This will not happen without support from the government.
Yes.
So we will be closely working with the government and the parliament. So in the process, what we are looking at is we are going to also build capacity of CSI SME sector associations, which basically belongs to Bhutan Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and also we'll be looking at the establishing the platforms where the continuous dialogue can happen, and we are also looking at through this process we are also looking at streamlining certain policies, which I think rightly the present government, who is newly formed, has putting so much effort, and it's part of their 100 days in office promises. So it's an opportunity for us.
So do you think with this consultative and review process, the ease with which businesses, small and large, can do business in the country and across the border, will it become easier? How do you perceive it?
We are quite hopeful. First of all, because this we are basically looking at the initiative and interest and effort that is put in by government, which is very, very important. And as the government has put in so much effort, and while private sector also has keenly focusing on it, so I believe there will be a lot of changes. There will be a lot of ease of doing businesses, and at the end, the private sector development should happen.
As I mentioned earlier, the deadline to submit the review report is 1st of March, as issued in the directive by the Prime Minister. BCCI President, if you could tell us some of the challenges that are there to meet that deadline, and I'm sure you all must have already looked into that, and what are some of the ways in which you all can overcome these challenges to meet the deadline?
We are comfortable, as I already said that almost these issues we have already developed in the past 2-3 years. And about 50% the core committee is supporting us. And we have also the expert and consultant under the project, so where they are supporting us. So therefore, we have no doubtful on the deadline.
Yes.
As long as, the feedback that we submit, the government should comfortably take. Because what happened was, in the past, when the fiscal incentive act was developed, they did a lot of consultation with us in the past. But they managed to rope in only few of our submission. Eventually, when they framed the rules and regulation, they refused to have discussion with us. So many of the members expressed, they were not happy on the fiscal incentive rules and regulation. So this should not happen with this. We are given comfortable the zone, to review all these barriers, issues, challenges. And with so much of difficulty, financial is involved. Luckily to have this project, they are supported. So after all this effort, we still wish that government should, even on framing the rules and regulation, to put the private sector on board.
So should be how a review and consultative process should work. The press release that came out earlier also, you mentioned the Fiscal Incentives Act. It also mentions other economic policies such as the Economic Development Policy, Foreign Direct Investment Policy, and Public-Private Partnership Policies. So the private sector is raising concerns in these policies. If you could shed some light on what sort of issues we are talking about.
Regarding the PPP, public-private partnership, we had a consultation with the government, with the relevant expert. We used to have, now to revise this FDI policy, in line with the FDI policy, that you need a bankruptcy act and a competition bill. So later, I think the bankruptcy bill is being, changed to insolvency bill. So if this gets through, we can attract more FDI investors. We can attract more investors. And eventually what happened is, ultimately, we want to have improvement of the ecosystem of the private sector, where we want to do away with the sector clearance. Just now, in the Economic Development Board, the priority sector is charcoal. We import 2 billion charcoal from India. And we have surplus of trees here, natural resources. But Economic Development Board, they give you approval. But when you seek the sector clearance, forest will never give. So these are the various, and it's very difficult. This government took a right decision on the economic recovery. This revision of this policy is very, very critical.
Interesting, the BCCI president mentioned about the insolvency bill. It is one of the sections or divisions in the ease of doing business where Bhutan scored very low out of some 180 countries, which is ranked by the ease of doing business. Bhutan is ranked 168 in resolving insolvency. So it is really important that the insolvency bill comes through as an act. I'll go back to Mr. Khampa. Looking beyond the review process, of course, we have this 1 month to get things done. Looking at the long-term measures, what long-term measures can be implemented to ensure that Bhutan's business regulatory framework remains responsive to the changing economic dynamics?
From the 3 domains that we had talked earlier, one of the domains was particularly looking at the business regulatory procedures. So under that, we have a few subdomains, like, for example, licensing regulations. Now, if you look at the licensing regulations, I think we really don't have a streamlined licensing regulations. So we have a few government agencies issuing license to various businesses and economic sectors. And then these agencies, they have a different licensing procedures. So and some of the licensing procedures are not inconsistent with the licensing procedures we would like to have in order to ensure that the business licensing are very smooth and consistent. So, for example, we talked about having a enterprise registration bill activated again, which was discussed a long time ago in the parliament, but it never went through. So I think we have to look at that again to ensure that all the licensing procedures are streamlined. So likewise, we also have issues in the front of manpower and labor regulations. Then we also have certain issues in terms of service delivery by the government in the fields of access to finance, access to market, and also other service deliveries like online business systems. So considering all these things are streamlined, harmonized together, then I believe we will be at a very competitive stage to have a very advanced systems like it is there in the other countries. And I think this will make sure that we keep pace with the systems, with the system that is evolving internationally and globally.
So I'll come down to the last question, I guess, to Mr. Chotenla. Considering that this directive came from the Prime Minister and the ministries involved, so of course this consultative process is happening with various private sectors. How are you all coordinating, communicating with the Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Employment so that these review processes do not go in vain?
Yes. Finally, I would say now the two hands have come together. The private sector have been pushing for such consultations and coordinations and collaborations. And then this new government is putting the first priority, I would say, because this is priority to do within 1 month's time of their forming a government. So we already, through Chamber also, we had an invitation to take part in it. We also got personally the invitation to take part in committees and consultation processes. And even in terms of the consultations, we have been, if you look at the discussions that happened today, so many key sector associations, sector members are taking so much interest in putting up and voicing out their issues and challenges. Which what I'm trying to tell here is the government has put in so much effort, in so much effort, and from private sector also there is so much interest and voice coming out. So while these two forces come together, I have no doubt that this will not happen, Sishunibi.
Thank you, gentlemen, for taking the time to come in our studio and talk about this very important review process. And we'll have you back in the studio again at the end of this review process to see how far things have come along and how the government is willing to accept all the recommendations that the private sector have for the government in this process of reviewing the business regulatory frameworks and policies in the country. For everyone watching at home, thank you for watching, and until next time, see you again.